Thanks for staying on here, the program. I think what we'll do with Sifa is we'll get Sifa over the telephone and have that conversation. In the absence of that, let's look at the Convention People's Party and a statement. Now, the CPP is lamenting that Ghana has lost a great deal of the can-do spirit after political independence. The party says it hopes the year 2015 will bring increased opportunities to enable us improve the quality of our lives. The statement signed by Samia Nkrumah, the chairperson and leader of the party, says that, and I'm quoting, above all, 2015 should be a year of active preparation for a big change in the next general election. The CPP laments that our nation today has lost a great deal of the confidence, the can-do spirit, the self-help and great motivational drive which sets us apart and propelled us to rapid development soon after political independence. We'll talk about this now. Samia is here with me in the studio. Samia, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad you could make it.
Indeed, I'm happy we are here.
Let's look at this. The fact that we have lost the can-do spirit, we have lost the self-help. We seem to rely on someone to do something for us all the time. How did we get here?
We believe that we are where we are because we abandoned economic planning. We abandoned a wonderful, practical, applicable development plan, and we have forgotten that the objective of political independence is to gain control over your resources, over your economy, so that you can best distribute wealth to your people. So we gained independence for a very specific reason, to improve the living conditions of our people. Now, when you abandon well thought out plans, and these plans were compiled or created, if you will, by the best economists, industrialists, thinkers in Ghana, in Africa, and also internationally. So we invested heavily in planning, and you cannot go anywhere without proper planning of your economy.
But government after government, isn't that what they've been trying to do? To
not
plan
at all.
The economy
not at all.
With the various budgets, with the various policies.
No, that is not planning. That is a wish list that you come with every year. Planning is something you do for 2 years, 5, 10 and more, which is what South Korea has done, Malaysia, and many other emerging industries. And you focus, you promote certain industries which have strategic value for your country. And that is why if we had pursued the plan under the leadership of Kwame Nkrumah, we would have had a gold refinery before 1970. We would have had at least 4 sugar factories. So many things would have been different because you are preparing yourself to quickly and rapidly, consistently take over your economy. Now, what happened after 66? We got advisors from abroad to give us advice. Not advice born out of our specific Ghanaian condition, but advice that is imported from elsewhere. And we were told to liberalize. We sold off national assets, assets that would have helped us become a productive nation. And what happens to you when you can't produce most of what you use on a daily basis? You lose confidence, you lose that spirit of patriotism, and you lose your belief in your country, your nation, and the people. So this is where we are. And we are saying,
let's stay on the planning just for a few seconds. Now we are working towards a 30-year plan. Will that cut it?
Where is it, and what does it say?
The National Planning Committee is looking into it.
Has been working for years, and we haven't seen anything. In Ghana, after independence, within just 10 years, we invested in education, and we promoted education and educated so many people free and compulsory education. Within 10 years, Ghana did more than what the 100 years of colonial rule did. This is planning for you. We hear a lot of things. We hear promises. We hear even sometimes plans, issues or pronouncements rather, that make sense. But what do we see on the table? 2006, the contribution of the manufacturing sector was about 10%. That is to GDP. 2011, it dropped to less than 2%. So manufacturing is contributing less than 2% to GDP. This means you are producing next to nothing locally. And your main production is raw materials, gold, timber, cocoa, things that we were doing 100 years ago. So where is your independence? Where is your confidence? And since the return to multi-party democracy, no government has prioritized manufacturing. The day that happens, you will see a big difference. And the CPP is here to do exactly that. We must revive our manufacturing industry, revive the hundreds of factories that were established immediately after independence.
Let's look at the issue of manufacturing and the fact that we don't seem to produce a lot when it comes to developing the country. But is manufacturing the only way out for Ghana? How about services?
Manufacturing is paramount because it is not only where you create jobs, but it is also for your national interests, because you need to focus on certain industries, like refining your gold, refining your oil. It could make a big difference in our economy. We should have been doing this decades ago. Ghana would have been different. And services are based on, very often, on your manufacturing inputs. No country, or very few, with a few exceptions, have developed without promoting manufacturing. You enhance your productive skills and you link agriculture to industry, education to industry to agriculture, which again was the purpose of the plan. So we must do it. We must tackle it. We are not going to go anywhere without it. Our service industry is growing, but we are getting poorer. Individuals. We are challenged on every level, and that is because we are not focusing on production.
Are we going to have such an easy time trying to convince the Ghanaian to consume, or even people resident in Ghana to consume made in Ghana goods, especially where we have told ourselves that we seem to have carved the mindset that things produced from within here are not of the highest quality?
Yes, but we do need to improve the quality, indeed. But that is also not absolutely true, because we have many wonderful projects, very simple ones, like I believe our shea butter rivals the best cream in the world. That's all what I use. I don't use anything else. Our black soaps, brilliant. You can't get anything better than this. And some of us have tried different things. So we have actually some excellent products. Yes, we need to market them, but we need to invest in some research to package them and to make them look attractive. But all this necessitates policy. We cannot just speak at the level of trying to promote individuals, trying to promote here and there. You need policy. So you need governments which have a vision. Governments that are inspired by a philosophy. We call it decolonization, but it's basically freeing your mind, yourself, from dependency. You see, freeing us from that dependency, from the idea that, yes, we cannot do this, we cannot do that, it will be difficult, we are lazy, we are not good enough. We are good enough. We managed to have our establish our medical school in a few years with the best doctors. So we have everything. Before that, it seemed impossible. It is possible. We simply have to follow a vision.
When we come to the factories, you've seen this government put in, okay, tell us about reviving some of those factories, like the Commander Sugar Factory and the making of jute right here.
Reviving 1 or 2 factories. There were hundreds of factories. How can you in 6 years think of reviving one and you are saying this is a good example? This is haphazard, isolated things. No, you need to revive hundreds, and you need to do it in the right way.
But who
owns the production? Who owns? Ghanaians have to have a share of ownership. This might seem revolutionary now, but this is where we must be heading. If you don't put the Ghanaian at the commanding heights of your economy, then the people are not controlling their resources. So we need every factory we establish. Who owns it? If it's a state in partnership with someone else, then so be it. If it's our local entrepreneurs, the state and someone else, but let us know. Ownership is very important because we need to know the profits from this production. Where are they going? The sugar that will feed into the factory, where is it coming from? Is it coming from our plantations, as was the case before, or as was planned with the rubber plantations?
But what would your CPP have done differently? In fact, I think that's the question I want to ask. Considering the period in which the country lives in at the moment, how would your CPP have revived those ghost local companies that used to belong to the state?
No,
how would you have done it, considering we don't even have
the first problem, of course, was the fact that many were sold. We never knew where the profits from the sales went to. Many were sold to people, to cronies of governments. We don't know where the money went to. We don't know what happened with the money.
Some also just died out.
Some were abandoned. I mean, these are state assets. You know, we should have demanded, where did the money go? And when you sell something that has a potential to be productive, you have to plow it back into productive ventures. So the number one thing, we definitely would not have sold them. We would have made them profitable. Or if you sell them to an entity that will make them profitable and serve your nation. So that's the first thing. And number two, we would have pursued planning with vigor and with attention. So to start with, the situation we are in is loss of a vision in the first place.
So that it could have been avoided, but this is where we are.
Of course it could. Just like South Korea, which today can manufacture planes, we cannot even manufacture bicycles.
How would the CPP deal with the situation?
Reverse the situation. Take control of your economy. Make sure your share of ownership of resources increases, because it's with that extra revenue that you can start intervening socially. Number two, you don't listen to advice which has proved unproductive. Cutbacks in spending, in health, in education. Basically, what we are begging the IMF to give us, the small money they can give us, is easily generated internally with proper management and planning. So the CPP would not have gone to the IMF. The CPP would not have sold state assets. The CPP would have enacted or implemented laws that would help encourage our local entrepreneurs get into manufacturing. There are laws, there are policies that will make it easier. And you can help your local entrepreneurs. You direct them.
Are we not doing that with the local content bill? Are we not doing that with the local content?
No, the implementation is very poor. You talk to your manufacturers, talk to local entrepreneurs in Ghana. Many are forced to go into retail. Why? They will tell you it's not profitable for us to go into assembling, car assembling or manufacturing. It's simply not profitable for them. Why is Ghana flooded with cheap goods? This is a policy. Why don't you implement what we call import substitution seriously? You know, why are you thinking of signing the economic partnership agreements, which will flood our markets with more cheap goods? So policy affects the way your country is run. And we are saying we would have implemented different policies and we would have said a big no to many things. And it might sound revolutionary, but then yes, Ghana needs an economic revolution.
Indeed, and as part of that, I think one thing that catches me about this New Year message is the fact that we have lost a great deal of our can-do spirit. I'll have you elaborate on that, but while you do that, I just want to know, how do we pick up the pieces in getting back our can-do spirit, not only at the national level, but as individuals?
Yes, it cuts across, but you see the direction at the national level is what would inspire the country and the people. We have very competent people, we have excellent technocrats, but they need a vision to propel them. They need a vision, a government which would tell them, this is where we want to reach, this is how we want to do it. And you put the technocrats to work and they will carry the country beautifully. So we need to elect governments that are serious about bringing back this can-do spirit. And that was a revolutionary thought, because we are caught in the stranglehold of two main parties. And if you think about it, these parties, who owns and funds them? Unfortunately, most of our parties are owned by individuals. Now, we have to also revolutionize that. This is why the CPP has launched our membership system.
When you say most parties are owned by individuals, how do you mean?
That it's a few individuals who practically fund the operations of the party. Now, this in itself is dangerous. Parties must be owned by members. And when that happens, when the party comes to power, it will have to pay attention to the need of membership at large and people. So people must own political parties, and that way the parties will serve their interests when they come to power. So we need to also think of how we are going to do that. And in our domain,
that how the CPP raises its funding?
That is what we launched recently, that members must
But over
own
the
party.
years, you have been like all the others.
Indeed, and that's why it's been difficult even for our message to get across, because we have to conduct our affairs differently, even our internal operations, because that will reflect on how we are going to conduct ourselves when in government. So now we are saying the members must own the party, just like the people of Ghana must own the various parties, so that governments will implement policies that benefit many people, not just taking into consideration a few who fund the parties.
But how will a government be able to lead the way when it comes to the can-do spirit, especially for the very varying Ghanaian system or community we have now?
But it happened before. You see, why are we talking as if it never happened?
Because perhaps circumstances are different.
They are different and they are similar at the same time. You see, if you think 51, the eve of those elections, that brought the CPP into some kind of a power sharing, let's say, with the British still independence. How did that happen? How did people go and vote for a party that would revolutionize everything, the way things are happened? It happened, it can happen again. You see, it can happen again, and not just it can, it must happen if we want to get out of our economic woes.
Well, you also mentioned the fact that we should look forward to a new wave, general elections 2060. What would that be the CPP we are talking about?
Yes, that's what we are aiming for. Yes, we want a big upheaval in the minds of our electorate.
But considering the CPP's performance in the last election, how do you convince the Ghanaian that indeed I won't be throwing away my vote if I go and vote for the CPP?
It is the Ghanaian that will decide. Ghanaians decide. We believe that a big chunk of the population supports us. A big chunk of the population would be ready to follow the vision we are presented. So it's in the hands of the Ghanaian electorate. The Ghanaian electorate will decide.
We will look forward to that. I'm sure we'll have a lot more conversation as we enter the election year 2016. I'm sure we'll start from somewhere last quarter of 2015.
Yes,
we'll hear a lot from you.
Even from now, and we have to start. We are starting to work.
We'll look into that in the future. Pleasure talking to you, Samia.
Thank you very much.
Samia Nkrumah is chairperson for the Convention People's Party, and in its New Year message, the party has lamented Ghana's great loss of its great deal of the can-do spirit they believe could be led by a more responsible party in office, which, according to them, will be the CPP. But when we come back, we'll talk about Nayeli Ametepe's case, which has been shifted from today to tomorrow, Tuesday, 6th of January 2015. Sifa Chum is on standby. Don't go away.